Today, I've got a real treat for you guys, something really positive. I'm going to be contrasting the record profits made by banks in the United States, same goes for banks everywhere, contrasting that against the average person's living experience. Let's jump straight into those record profits from banks, and I'll explain a little bit about why that's the case.
Meantime, a very upbeat start to earnings season with the banks today. JPM, Citi, Goldman all beating on the top and bottom line. The KBE Bank ETF now up 1.5% as a result. Let's bring in Erica Najarian. She's a research analyst at UBS covering this space. Erica, and this is with high expectations, as we heard yesterday. The financials were the area, along with tech, expecting to post the highest earnings growth, and they're clearing that bar. How so?
More specifically, picking on JP Morgan, they had their profits increase 58% year over year. How many people do you know in your own life that saw their take-home pay go up 58%? I'm guessing there's not many. Personally, I do see the next 12 months as being a very positive time for the stock market and investing, and potentially an opportunity for the average person to really dig themselves out of a little hole. And I believe that viewpoint is going to be different to maybe what we're going to see on mainstream media. For example, there's a lot of talk about interest rates still being too high. The Federal Reserve cut them from 5.5%, I believe, down to 4.5% now, but it's too high, and that's going to strangle the economy. At the same time, the central bank is burning tens of billions of US dollars out of existence, so that's going to hopefully bring down asset prices, including houses and stock prices, but I don't believe that's going to be the case. And all of that is summarized in this one chart, which is looking at the reserves of your commercial banks. Now, a reserve just means the bank holds some sort of asset ready to sell, or just cash ready to give back to depositors. You go to a big bank, you put your savings in their account, you want to take it out. The bank actually needs cash available to give back to you. The reason why this chart is so important and also so weird is that before the GFC, back before 2008, there were only about $40-50 billion in bank reserves throughout the entire United States. After the GFC, that spiked up above $1 trillion because the central bank printed a whole bunch of money. And then after the lockdowns, we reached a peak of around 4.2 trillion. Why does that really matter? Well, all of this messaging we're getting about a weaker economy, those tricks are not really going to work. First up, let's talk about that money deletion we're getting told by the central bank. They're deleting tens of billions of dollars every month. If we were going to see any sort of restriction on banks and how much they're willing to lend out, the Federal Reserve would have to follow their money deletion policy for another decade, and we would still have $1 trillion left in terms of this reserves at banks. And we can also talk about those interest rates. Now, traditionally speaking, if we lower the interest rates across the United States, that 4.5% is seen as the national minimum, put simply. But since when do banks actually borrow money from people? You put your money in a savings account at Chase, owned by JP Morgan, you're getting paid like 0.05% on that money. The 4.5% is not really important to JP Morgan at all. And since the central bank isn't really going to have an effect on the economy, then the question becomes, who's actually driving the US economy? And that would all come down to the US consumer. If people can go out and spend more money, take out more loans, spend more money, and basically just go in a giant rat wheel, then this party can keep going on for a while longer. And that leads me to the second big topic of the video. We're gonna have a little bit of fun here at the same time because it can be a little bit depressing, but the US consumer, as what we're seeing from anecdotal evidence, but also from actual real statistics, is not looking that great. Let's talk about the affordability crisis. Now, this chart is a little bit old, but it's showing us the average cost of maintaining a household per month. And back in 2012, that was only around $4.3 thousand, and that spiked up to $5.6 thousand. So whatever that is, about a 30% increase in just under a decade. But that's not the most up-to-date statistics. I've got another one here looking at how many people you have in your household and how that affects the cost. So if you're a single person, renting a little apartment to yourself, that's only costing you around $3.4 thousand US per month. Two people, almost doubling it. And if you have a family of 4, your costs have over doubled compared to a single person. So if you have really one person whose income is going to run a family, then you're really looking at doubling your expenses. So this is real evidence showing why people are really not interested in having a family. If people feel poor, then they're just not going to have those kids. And this effect is not felt equally all over the country. We're looking at Boston, Massachusetts. It's costing you $300,000 today. This is for 2024 in order to feel comfortable looking after a family of 4. If we're looking at California, that was $277,000 per year. That's probably going to go up because of the wildfires. I've already heard that rents have increased because of people losing their homes. Everyone's trying to look for a place to live. Now, obviously that's quite terrible, but the video is depressing enough, so we're going to move on. Texas, $200,000 and Florida, $210,000. Now that probably just means you don't need to spend money on credit cards. You can afford to feed your family, you own your cars, and you're probably sending your kids to college. All of that is now costing $200,000 to $300,000 a year to do all of that. Back in the day, living rich was owning a sports car, Lamborghini or something, Rolex on your wrist. But today, it's just getting a full trolley of food and filling up your car to the brim.
I just watched a lady walk out of the grocery store with a buggy slap full of groceries. And I'm having to fight the urge to run over and say, what do you do for a living? Do you have an OnlyFans page? Are you a drug dealer?
Is that a packet of Scotch fillet steak in your trolley? Jeez.
You know how you can tell everybody going through it right now? Look, $10. $10. What does this one say? $20. $10. Look, what else we got?
Stories like this are just filling up social media everywhere, really since 2020, but this problem is going back all the way to really 2000. Looking at the participation rate of labor in America, this graph simply just asks, out of all the people that could work in America, how many people are working? And they just write that as a percentage. That maxed out right before the dot-com bubble bust in 1999, with all the women joining the workforce and men still wanted to work as well, peaked out around 67%. But you're going to notice here that every single crisis we've had since has seen the maximum participation rate go down. So who knows, maybe the next recession coming up in a couple years, we could even see that go below 60% again of people who are willing to work. Many of those people might be over 50, early retirement because of the lockdowns and GFC, all that stuff. But it's really worrying when you're seeing the workhorses of your country, people in their 20s and 30s, join that movement.
Fuck you, America, for making me for making me work 4 fucking jobs! 4 jobs! While I'm in college in rural fucking Tennessee and I can barely pay my own fucking rent!
Jeez, at least she's trying.
It's not fucking fair. It's not fucking fair anymore.
Now, I'll save the best for last there. Pretty intense video, but I believe it does showcase, that lady's true thoughts. Props to her for sharing her true feelings there for the world. But I think there's a lot of people sitting in that boat, even in their late teens, all the way up to 30, 40. A lot of people are just dissatisfied with what they're getting out of the workforce. But I do want to end the video with a little bit of positivity here, a bit of light at the end of the tunnel. And it's the reason why I made this YouTube channel is I do think there is still a chance for us to live comfortably, in the 2030s and 2040s. And that's through investing. I'm not going to sell you on some random crypto or any of that crap. Just ask yourself, how much money do you think the average person spent on Amazon in the last year? Buying that 4th plushie for their couch in the living room, whatever. All that wasted money, really. And how much money do you think they bought on Amazon stock or just buying, the S&P 500, just a traditional investment? At some point, we do have to start identifying the issue as whatever we are, the middle class, saying what we're doing today hasn't really worked and how are we going to get out of this problem? On my channel, I talk about the stock market, the bond market, if it looks like things are looking positive for the next 12 months ahead. I know it can be quite cringy saying positive information on YouTube. Everyone loves the negativity, but but this fucking crab got out the bucket. He's getting his claw in there and trying to help your mates out, get out of the bucket. That's all we can really do, right? But I do want to thank my YouTube members who help support me for $1 a month. There's also other options if you're interested. Thanks for your time, guys. See you next time. Bye.